he would be. So I don't mind being overweight on him. And then, the other driver I want to be well overweight in this range is William Byron. William Byron's been pretty solid here recently. A lot of finishes between 7th and 14th, and I don't think he's going to get a lot of attention either. I like him over Bowman. I was talking yesterday with JJ about that bet. Byron's got much more momentum than what Bowman does. And Byron has had speed all year, and he continues to maintain that speed. And for whatever reason, people just don't like playing him. So he's another driver I want to be well overweight on. And then is that everybody in that range, I think?
Yep. Yeah, that's pretty much everyone. All the way up to, where did we go to? All the way up to Jimmy Johnson. Yeah. So as long as you didn't go past Jimmy, you're set there on that. Matty Ice, how about you? What are you thinking of all these drivers here? It seems like some pretty good takes by Coop. How about you?
Yeah, this is a interesting range. I think all 5 of these drivers are in play. I think you can get after any one of these guys. Buescher's price is obviously where you're searching at. Buescher's ran well. He's just had some terrible luck, as Coop mentioned. I mean, he's hit everything, including the kitchen sink, over the last 10 races. He's due to finish one off. Clint Blair, I'll definitely have some interest in Clint Blair. He hasn't been the greatest at this track. He averages around a 5th place finish, but most of the Stewart-Haas cars have been pretty good. So I have no issue taking a shot at him. He's looking at about 15% ownership, which is actually pretty low. Most of these guys in this section are looking at decent ownerships. Coop mentioned Jimmy Johnson, same thing. Definitely have interest in him. He pretty much cost me the takedown at Bristol. He just could do nothing. I had awesome builds, and Jimmy just literally couldn't do nothing. But I'll go back to the well on him. I mean, the man owns, I think, 7 or 8 wins at Texas over his career. If there's a guy I trust out on a hot slick track, Jimmy Johnson would be one of them. At 15% ownership, as Coop mentioned, kind of coming up. Bell, who's priced in that same range, I think he makes a great pivot. Go back here. Who else we got here? Cole Custer, I think you can play. I'm not sure how popular he's going to end up today after winning last week. I still think he probably falls in that 10 to 15% range. I don't know what you were thinking on where he's going to fall, Coop. But I don't mind taking a shot on him. Let's see here. William Byron, another guy. I played some Byron at Bristol as well, too. I have a build going right now that's kind of a Hendrick build. I got Harvick with Byron and Bowman slammed in there. I have no issue playing either one of those guys. Byron's been very good here. Averages a 12th place finish. He's led a couple laps here as well. I think he's going to come in probably the highest of this group. I think he probably comes in a little bit closer to 20%. Why that is, I'm not entirely sure. I thought he was going to come in a little bit lower. But as Coop mentioned, I have interest in all these guys. It's kind of a weird section. It's odd that we run across a section where we have interest in all the guys. But I think Coop's on the money there. I have no interest, dabbling in with any one of these guys.
All right, Maddie, real quick. I think the stream for a little bit there while we were doing this. So if you could rank these guys for the people, give like your top 3 guys, just in case they missed it. Who were like three of your favorites in this range?
Oh, okay. My top 3, I would go with Jimmy, Byron, Blair.
All right. Coop, how about you? Who are your top 3 in this range as well, just in case someone missed it? Because I know the stream kind of went down oddly, but it's back up and it's running now. So who are your 3?
Jimmy Johnson, Byron. I'll put Buescher in front of Boyer. I'm not going to go crazy on Buescher. 10, 15% at most. You're not going to need much because he's going to be, 8 to 10% tops. But, I like the combination of Byron and Johnson together because I think it'll be give you some leverage because I don't think a lot of people will go toward that route.
Yeah, one last thing I'll ask you, Coop. FanDuel, we always talk about Jimmy. He's got kind of always got a cheap price. He's 8.8K over there. Is he someone you're trying to slam into your lineups?
Yeah, I would like to put him with Matt DiBenedetto too.
Yep, think that makes a ton of sense. Let's move on to this next range. We'll go to you, Coop. There's definitely guys here I know you're probably going to be rostering. I think Austin Dillon's one you're going to want to talk about. We got Matt Kenseth, we got Eric Jones, Tyler Reddick, and we'll put Ryan Preece in here as well. Lots of good drivers. Break them down for the people.
Reddick and Jones are the two in here that stand out the most. Reddick's going to be the most popular. We've talked about him endlessly on mile-and-a-half tracks. And how strong he's been this year and how good he's been. So, just play him and, get a different, route on other ways with him. But he's going to be good. He has a lot of upside and, it's a tough fade if you go that route with him. Jones, again, he's boom or bust. And, he's in the Toyota too, which hasn't had a lot of speed. His results have been, atrocious here recently. And, he's another driver like Clint Blair. He's on the hot seat and he has a lot to race for to keep his ride for next year. So, just approach Jones cautiously. The ownership on him is interesting. More people seem to be going toward him than what I thought they would. So I definitely don't want to be overweight. I want to try to be more field average on him, just because of the volatility with him. Then who's 21st and 22nd?
We got 21st is Austin Dillon. And then after that, we got 22nd Kenseth, Eric Jones, Reddick, and Preece is the range.
Yeah, Austin Dillon, we talked about him. He's been great on mile-and-a-half tracks. And I don't think things will change this week. He's going to be as popular this week as he was last week. They're in similar situations. So again, field average. I don't feel confident like he's going to be awesome, to be overweight on him. But strong driver. He fiddled with the top 10 last week, and I think finished right outside in 13th. So gives you a lot of place differential for his price. And then Kenseth, I was surprised on the projected ownership on Kenseth. I thought it would be higher. He struggled on mile-and-a-half tracks this year, and I had no interest in him. I thought, with the starting position and the price, more people might go toward him. But even with low ownership, I still don't, have any interest in him. And then Ryan Preece, I like him as a GPP pivot down in this low range. And he's one of the drivers I want to try to be, probably even in the field, maybe slightly over, because I think his ownership does come in lower because he is starting more forward than some of these other drivers. He's been hit or miss. I don't think he has the ability to hit top 20 somewhere around in that ballpark. But the price helps in being able to make value for him.
All right, we did get some news, Coop. Maddie, this will be big news, I'm sure, for you as well. Listen, we got Chase Elliott and Sorensen. They both failed tech, so they're going to the back. So let's go to you first, Maddie. How is this gonna, how's this gonna like change any lineup decisions you're making now? Is Elliott gonna drop down? What are you kind of thinking?
Yeah. I think you could have ran Chase in any format that you wanted, but now if he's going to the back, I think that obviously just makes him a GPP. Now we saw this the other week with Truex. We got off Truex when Truex had to go to the back the other week. I can't remember what race that was. That Kentucky, Coop? And Truex drove right to the front. So by no means do I think Chase is dead, but it does make him much riskier. Obviously, Sorensen, he was already started the 40th, so I mean that doesn't seem to matter to us. But I'll still have some exposure to Chase, but it will go down.
Here's a question, Coop. So Chase Elliott's crew, it's known to not be the best this year. Does he need his crew to like play flawless if he's from the back, right? Is that something that's going to be super important, that his pick crew has to really be on his game? Listen, I don't know the answers to that. It could just be he has to be fast and he'll pass all those guys and he'll get up there pretty quick. But what are you thinking?
That's a great point. And I think you're spot on. It's not only the pit crew that's got to be spot on. He's got to run a flawless race to get back up there. And we saw last week what happened to him after the pit stop. He just fluttered. He wasn't able to get back up front. And we'll see. But I think that cements my decision. Of going Truex over Elliott. But I'm just wondering, does it really make Truex that much more popular, or do more people, go to a Logano and a Keselowski now, and they become, more popular and don't have the edge in GPPs that you had prior to Elliott being up there?
Yeah, that's certainly a good question that we're going to have answered, and have to make a decision on. I'm trying to think. I was going to play Chase, and I like them a lot, but I might look to obviously lower the ownership. And again, his ownership might lower, and you could just go even with the field if you're worried about not having him. So, it's going to be a tough decision to make. Maddie, now let's go to you and talk about this range of drivers, right? A ton of different guys to like in this range. Austin Dillon's been great. Coop mentioned so many good guys here. Who are your favorites?
Yeah, I definitely think Austin's in play. He's been rock solid all year long. He was actually much better than I thought he was going to be this year. I've always seen him as kind of a spoiled kid who hasn't really won anything, but he's been pretty decent this year and solid. I have no issue playing him. Matt Kenseth, I don't want anything to do with. Jones, as Coop mentioned, he's just a boomer bust, dude. I mean, he's either going to finish 8th or he's going to finish 35th. That just seems to be the only way this kid rolls. One thing I've noticed, looking at some projections, is I'm seeing Jones and Reddick are just miles apart. I had pulled up on my phone, but I'm seeing that Eric Jones is looking at about 34% and Tyler Reddick's at 20%. I find that very, very surprising. That makes me want to lean towards Reddick a lot more than Jones. I'll still have exposure to Jones. I think Jones is a good play, but Reddick just seems to be a little bit more consistent. The Chevys have just been faster than the Toyotas all year round. So I like Reddick a lot. Like I said, I'll have exposure to Jones. Priest is interesting. As Coop mentioned, his price is nice. I think he's $5,600. He's averaged a 22nd place finish over the last 6 races, I believe, at Texas. I think he's definitely a GPP play. I do have another guy starting, down closer to that range that I like a little bit more. But I think he'll come in at nice ownership. Could give you some nice leverage and some GPP builds.
All right. Any final thoughts in this range, or you guys want to move on to the next set of drivers here, Coop?
I'm ready.
All right. And man, this is where it starts to get rough. Who are we playing in this range? Who are we excited about? I mean, Quinn, Huff, Bilecki. We got Nemechek, who's an interesting value. Golding, your boy Ty Dillon. You've been playing him a lot more recently, Coop, I think. Joey Gase, Brennan Poole. So we'll make that the list of drivers, the 26 through 32. I mean, there's not a lot to like. Who are some of your favorites, though, Coop?
Just Nemechek and Ty Dillon. Out of those, Nemechek, has a solid starting position, and the price isn't too bad. I do think he's one of the more popular, drivers down here, and want to be right around field average on him. Ty Dillon, his price is down compared to last couple weeks. He's been a little over 7K, right in that 7K range. Has a very good starting position, and he does very well here at Texas in the past. So, he's the driver I want to be overweight on out of all these drivers down here because of his experience. He's in a Chevy, which has done well, and I think you have a little bit of ownership edge too.
All right, Matty Ice, how about you? This is definitely a range we don't want to play too many guys, but who are some of the guys you're going to be on?
Nah, John Hunter Nemechek and Ty are the only two you want to be on. Ty's looking at about 15% ownership, and John Hunter Nemechek, who I've been on all year long. I've played a ton of them. He is looking a little chalkier at 25. percent projection. Odds are, I think I'm probably gonna eat that. I feel safer with Nemechek, than I can say with a Priest. John Hunter's been good at mile and a half his whole career, whether he was racing trucks or Xfinity. So I think that's some chalk that I'll probably eat a little bit more than say like Coop would or something like that. So I'll probably be just a touch over the field on him, just to give myself a little bit of leverage.
Here's a question for you, Coop. So for FanDuel, right? Like John Hunter Nemechek, I think he's 6K over there. Do you want to play him over there again? Like I'm asking it because I'm playing over there, and also know sometimes we don't touch on FanDuel as much, but like he's 6K over there. You still think you want to play him at that spot? I mean, there's some other normally better 6K drivers, and on top of that, you can normally get these guys like we talked about, like Matt DiBenedetto. You can get a Chris Bell, a Jimmy Johnson for like a pretty good mid-tier price and pepper some of that range.
Yeah, I think he's a solid option, but I would still rather stick with Ty Dillon over top of Nemechek, because I think he's in the same price range as what Nemechek is over there, maybe even cheaper. Just based on his history.
Cheaper. He's $1,000 cheaper, Coop. And the other thing too is from Nemechek, again, he's a great Draftkings value. It's totally different. But Austin Dillon's only $1,000 more on FanDuel than Nemechek. So you can easily just go to the Dillon brothers, 1,000 up or 1,000 down. And I think that might be what I do here.
Yeah, I like Ty because, like I said, he's had some top 20 finishes here. So, he has that ability to get up there in the top 20. Nemechek does too. Don't get me wrong. But, Ty really allows you to, slam up the other four drivers.
Yep, that's definitely been my plans there with that. Let's move on and talk about this last set of drivers here. Not a lot of guys to love, right? Ultimately, Christopher Bell, he's always in this range, always a guy that we're going to talk about. But other than that, I don't know. I mean, McDowell's in there. I'm sure Mikey would be loving to play some McDowell as always. Coop, what are you doing here at this range? Is it just Christopher Bell and move on?
Oh, no. There's a couple drivers in here. Bell's obviously the best of them with the highest upside, and DK has made him playable this week. And, I'm kind of on, wondering where his ownership's going to fall. Is people going to jump on him, or are they going to stay off of him like they have in the last couple of weeks? And he's going to be around 15%, give or take a couple.
Talking about 42%.
How much?
42%.
42. Wow.
Second.
People are going to be on him. I think he's a good play. The play that I like with Bell is put him with Johnson and Byron, because that'll be different and contrarian, because you're having to spend up, especially for Johnson, and it'll be different. And both of them have big upside, and I think from a GPP perspective, that's the way to go. If he's going to be that popular, to get different with him. So I like that combination. And then McDowell, I'll have a little bit. He keeps lucking out. The price all of a sudden went up on him, so his ownership's going to be way down versus what it has been. So I'll probably be more field average on him. And then Randy LaJoy or Coy LaJoy, starting 36th on piece of paper looks really good, but DK jumped up that price too, and he's got to get up to 24th to make it. And I think he has a pretty high ownership projection, right, Maddie?
Yeah, actually, from what I'm looking at here, all these guys do. So LaJoy is looking at about 40%, which is just insane. Who's the other two we were just looking at? Michael McDowell. I see. Michael McDowell's about 29%, and Christopher Bell, like I said, is 42.
Yeah. If LaJoy's 40%, I want to be about 20%. He has the ability to get up there, but I don't want to play a 40%, Randy or Corey LaJoy unless it's at a super speedway, like Talladega or Daytona. So that's where I stand. And McDowell, I don't see McDowell being 20-some% owned. If he is, that's just means Ty Dillon's going to be that much lower owned.
Well, here's a question about this range, and it's the FanDuel conversation, right? So you typically don't have to play cheap guys over there, but they're getting higher ownership on DK, but I assume it's not as high on FanDuel, right? And if they're good plays still on DK, if people think they are putting their ownership up there, what do you kind of think about them over on FanDuel? You can just jam in a ton of good plays if you play like a 4K Corey LaJoie. What do you think about that, Coop?
I would still go Ty Dillon, then McDowell, then LaJoie. Because I'm ranking that based upon their upside and what they have ability-wise to finish. I think 24th is stretching it for LaJoie. He'd have to have some more attrition in order to get a little higher. And then same way with McDowell, where I think Ty Dillon has enough speed in his car to get up into the top 20 on his own.
All right. If you guys have questions, throw them in the chat. We don't have your questions from before because something happened with the live show. There was some weird error, but I got some here that we can answer. Let's see. People talking about the Elliott starting in the rear thing. We already discussed that. John Hunter, Nemechek, or Boucher for DK Cash. Let's go to you, Matty Ice.
Cash, I would probably roll up Boucher. I think he's just been more consistent. I prefer his car. As high as Nemechek's going to be, and starting 28th, I still think he's risky. As most of you guys know, I don't play a lot of cash games. I'm a GPP player, but I would stick with Boucher. I think he's just a safer option. I think his finishing position is probably safer than what say Nemechek is. Nemechek's still a young driver. As much as I like him. And front row has been great, but let's just say they don't have an issue today either. We don't like Mcdowell, who's the same team. So I personally would lead it just a little bit more towards Boucher, just because I feel safer with him than I do with Nemechek.
Yeah, listen, I looked at that kind of swap too on one of my teams. So, Coop, what would you say for that too? I want to get your take as well.
No way I would pick Chris Boucher in cash. No way. He has no upside. He's going to finish, 12th to 13th is his upside.
But Nemechek's not going to go any higher than 19th or 20th.
He's a great GPP play, but there's no way I'd play Boucher in cash. So,
yeah, that's an interesting one.
In cash, you're looking for safety and you're looking for the floor, and Nemechek has a much better safety and much better floor than what Boucher does.
I mean, the one problem with Boucher is his downside could be real bad. Obviously, obviously if an accident happens, but obviously if it happens to Hunter Nemechek too, it could hurt. But
if that's the case, you might as well just end up going with a guy like Ty or something like that. Who's just a little bit more expensive. What's Ty at like 69? I mean, if you're diving down in that 5K range, I feel like Boucher is just a safer play, or to go to a guy like Priest, who's just a couple hundred less than Boucher.
All right, let's see. Jimmy Johnson and Chris Bell in DK GPP. What do you got there, Matty Ice?
I think Johnson's the GPP play. As we talked, Bell's ownership's going to be insane. Jimmy's ownership's looking really nice. Like I said, I think Jimmy's won 7 or 8 races here. So I would go Jimmy and GPPs.
LaJoie or Dillon, which one would you go there, Coop?
Which Dillon?
I'm assuming it's Ty.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's Ty, right? That would be my
I
guess.
would go with Dillon over LaJoie, either one of them.
All right, Matty, yes, I know you're not a GPP guy, but like Almirola in cash, like, is that the guy you would roll with? I think I'd take Blaney over Almirola if I'm forced to pick one or the other, but would you put Almirola then with Blaney as well in cash? I think you could, but what do you think?
I would probably go Blaney personally. And then obviously I think you're going to be pairing him with Harvick. I don't know how comfortable I feel with going at Almirola in cash. If I had to rank them, I would go Blaney then Almirola.
Yeah, I have the Blaney Almirola. I have the Blaney, not Blaney Almirola, the Blaney Harvick route so far. I think that's a pretty good route to take. That's what I'm looking at right now. Let's see. More questions from the chat we got here. We have can 700 on the board on DK GPP be a good idea? What's your take, Coop, strategy wise, on leaving money on the table?
It's always good to leave money on the table in NASCAR. It helps with the uniqueness. So no issues with that. I mean, I don't think it's a week to where you need to leave, many with over 1,000. But there are some lineups that you can work around that, allows you to leave that much money. But, no issues leaving money on the table.
All right, hopefully that answers your question, Brian. Let's go to Buff Studwell. He's got, what does Elliott starting from the rear mean? Maddie, can you explain like what place and like what that's basically going to do for him in the race?
Yeah, so I mean, he's going to keep his his official starting position, the starting position that you're seeing on Draftkings. But basically what this means is when they're doing the pre-race laps, he's going to drop to the rear. As I said, we saw this with Truex a couple weeks ago in Kentucky. He's going to have to battle his way back up. It's going to significantly lower his ownership. As I said, I'll still be playing Chase. I won't be nearly as high on him as I usually am. So I'll probably cut my ownership in half. But I'll definitely have some exposure to Chase. I think his car is fast enough for him to drive up through the field. It's not a short race by any means. And we saw Truex, do the same thing. Like I said a couple weeks ago in Kentucky, have a great finish. I think Chase can do the same thing.
All right.
Didn't lower Truex's ownership last week. He's still 25% on.
I know.
All right, Coop, I got a good one for you here. From Hayward Vincent, 30 he says, Harvick, Almirola, and Blaney, are they good building blocks for single entry GPP on FanDuel? What do you think about that?
Yes, I think they're probably the best building blocks.
Can you build them together though? That's what I'm thinking. I think you can play 2 of the 3, but can you play all 3 together? That might be the question.
If you play Dillon, possibly. If it leaves you enough to get up to like a Matt DiBenedetto, in there to fill out that last spot, I don't mind it at all. Maybe even possibly a Austin Dillon. I do think it'll be unique on FanDuel strictly because of the price. That each one of those drivers carry. I wouldn't want to do it if it forced me to put like Dillon and Nemechek together or Dillon and Mcdowell together. But if I could, play one of those lower drivers that's not named Corey LaJoie, and be able to, fit 4 other good drivers in there, I would, have no issue playing the 3 of them together.
Yeah, I think that's what it does. And again, and then you don't get to be able to play those mid-range guys. And there's a lot of good mid-range drivers there. So I kind of built that a little bit, and I wasn't comfortable with it for my single entry team. But let's see. Do you think you need to take a stand on playing Almirola or Blaney, or you think it's fine to be overweight on both at 50 to 60% in your pool? I know Coop said he was kind of cool with playing both. He already talked about that at the start of the show. Matty Ice, how about you on that question?
Yeah. I think they're both viable. Both have been super fast. I don't think I'll pair any of them together. I think I'll either go Harvick or Almirola or Harvick and Blaney. But no, I don't have any issue with that.
You're playing Almirola and Blaney together, and not having anybody else, playing them to be 2 dominators, will be a contrarian way to go with the 2 of them. And I know I have 1 or 2 lineups set up like that with them, because it allows you to play a lot of the mid-range Byrons, Boyers, Jones, Reddick, Bell, Johnson drivers with them. And then, we haven't talked about it, but if there is a 1 dominator race, which, I don't, bank on it, but I would bank on Harvick being that driver and then Almirola second. But, I don't look for it to be that way.
All right. If you guys could please hit that like, hit that subscribe. We'd appreciate it. It helps us out a ton. Please, guys, do that for us. We would appreciate it. One last thing I want to mention here with the questions is we're going to go rapid fire here, but here's a good one, Coop, before we go to rapid fire. Is Ford the manufacturer to focus on? Like, what manufacturers are you kind of looking at?
Ford, Chevy, and then Toyota distance third.
All right. That's the kind of order we'll go. Matty Ice, to you, who's your favorite spend up on DK? Go.
Spend up on DK, Kevin Harvick.
All right. Peyton Wavy saying Truex, Jimmy, or Denny and Logano for FDGPP, Coop?
Truex and Jimmy.
All right. Matty Ice, top 2 dominators on DK.
I'm going to go with Harvick and Amarola.
All right. Clarence Brown is asking, what drivers should I not play together, Coop? Give us some of those that you think are that.
Like a Boyer, not a Boyer, DiBenedetto and a Bowman, like Newman and Busher. I wouldn't play, any 4 of those, together whatsoever. Those drivers just don't have a lot of upside. So that's what you're looking at. If you want to take a chance at one of them, no issues, but I would do it individually versus trying to put them together.
All right, A1 Beast Mode's asking for you, Matty Ice here. DK Cash, Amarola, or Blaney?
That's the $1 million question everybody wants to know, man.
I know.
I'm going Blaney if you force me.
I gotta go Blaney. I gotta go Blaney.
I go Amarola.
All right, Andre Pendleton's asking you, Coop, Johnson, Byron, or Johnson, DiBenedetto for FanDuel?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Say that again, Johnson, Byron, or Johnson, DiBenedetto?
Yep.
Yeah, I would enter 2 teams and do both of them.
There you go.
What a cop-out answer.
Unbelievable, Coop. Not taking a stand. This is the first time
you've
never not taking a stand.
I like both of them, man. That's how much I like it.
All right. Favorite 7K and under driver for you, Matty Ice. Go.
7K and under driver, I would have to go Ty Dillon.
All right. Last question from Vipin Sethi. Sorry for butchering the name there. Reddick and Boyer or Jones and Austin Dillon, Coop? That's Reddick and Boyer or Jones and Austin Dillon?
Reddick and Boyer.
All right. Actually, I got one last question for you, Coop. On my FanDuel script, should I play Eric Jones? You know I have a problem and play him all the time, so just answer it for me so I can move on. Do I play
What's his
Eric
price?
Jones? Price over on FanDuel is $10K.
No.
Yeah, that's how I felt. I was like, this might be the first week I don't play my boy. So maybe I'll play him on DK, but I don't think I'm going to play him
if you play him at 10K.
Oh, I know.
I just think Jimmy Johnson and DiBenedetto are better, and they're probably going to be cheaper. I don't know.
What's Reddick's
kind of
price on FanDuel?
His is good. His is he's already in my script. So let me go over there. 8.5K. So he's 1,500 less. It seems like it's the move.
I'd much rather play Reddick than Jones.
All right, glad to hear you guys both on the same page. Before we get on out of here, we're going to give our winners for you guys. And if you're watching and you don't know much about us, just head on over to Run Pure Sports, guys. Coop did a playbook. The playbook, it's basically a one-stop shop that has all the NASCAR content. It tells you his favorite drivers, least favorite drivers, the guys he's going to be playing, and gives you a little strategy breakdown as well. We have core plays. And don't forget, if you like racing, we also have the trucks. We got Xfinity, and Matty Ice takes care of that content for us. So tons of awesome stuff over there. So head on over to Run Pure Sports and check that out. Give us your winners now. Matty Ice, who you got winning this race?
I just don't think there's any way you go against Kevin Harvick. I think Kevin Harvick's going to win. He's been fast all year long. The man owns a 2.83 average finish at Texas over the last 6 races. I'm going with the Busch Latte car, Kevin Harvick.
All righty. That makes me feel good about getting some Kevin Harvick today for sure. And he's tough to get on FanDuel, so I'm excited. I like that call there. Coop, give me your driver to win this race.
Nothing wrong with Kevin Harvick, but I'm going to stick with the pole setter. We haven't seen a pole setter in a long time. And I think it's time for Amarola to take his time to victory lane.
All right. I'm going to go with the guy that's at the top 2. I like Ryan Blaney. I just think he's been fast. Sure, I know he can have some hiccups here and there on the track, but the car has been moving, and I'm going to go with Ryan Blaney as my winner. We got to get on out of here, though, guys. Thanks a lot for joining us. If you want, check out our content over at Run Pure Sports. Coop does the playbook. Matty Ice does the Xfinity and truck stuff. We got awesome racing content for you. And we also got tons of other stuff too, all the other sports. So check it out over there at Run Pure Sports. But we got to go. For me, Travis Mangone, Matty Ice, and Coop, we're out of here.